Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Glad to be back here to the Iron Canon podcast, your home for in-depth discussion on the lore, the High Republic, and the whole canon of the galaxy far, far away. My name is Matthew, and I'm coming to you from Underworld North Studio here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. As always, I'm joined across the continent by your friend and mine, Mr. Joel Davis. Joel, good to see you again. Glad to be back. How you been doing the last few weeks?
I've been doing good. Hope your seat's nice and warm. I've been keeping it warm for you
There
as
we go.
we've been chugging along with a few
There you go.
guests.
Fix this camera thing here. There we go. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's been good. Hope your seat is nice and warm as
Yeah.
I've been filling it in, and can't wait to get back to basics with
There we
this
go.
episode.
Yeah, we're definitely getting to it. Continuing on from Tractor Beam. I was at New York Comic Con, so that's why I've been away out of the saddle for a bit. But yeah, glad to be back here on Iron Canada. As I said, New York Comic Con. It has come and has gone, 2024 edition at least, but Star Wars canon hype is still with us. So this week we are breaking down all the announcements and some of the non-announcements from that bright center of the universe. I like to call it Coruscant Comic Con. It's a fun time. I enjoyed it, but we'll dive into what was said, what wasn't said, on all that and why, and yeah, different things. But first off, let's get these plugs out of the way. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Iron Cannon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD. And of course, we are proudly part of the Star Wars Underworld Podcast Network. So we're here on their YouTube channel, the Underworld YouTube channel, where we got memberships, we got super chats. So please do support the channel if you're watching. If you're watching on Underworld YouTube specifically, Underworld Facebook, we're glad to give us a follow there, and Underworld Twitch, Iron Cannon Twitch going strong as well. And yeah, then yeah, the just around the network. Feel free to check that out. Of course, I'll get to that in a second. Star Wars Underworld Discord. That's a place where we all congregate, gather together, the watering hole, the little watering hole, chatting about Star Wars, chatting about different things, prepping for celebration. I think is going to be a big thing there. Get your Japanese lessons in down in the Discord. So please do check that out. Fresh link in the description below. Joel, are there any fun events that happened recently or coming up?
This week I'm going to probably announce a game night on Friday because I know I'm not doing anything Friday in particular. Last week I wasn't able to do game night because I was on another podcast
Oh, nice.
with one of our friends Jesse Bennett, talking about the Acolyte of all things, along with Ben Hart and Jeff.
Nice. Was that IPC or is that something else?
That's something else, and hopefully
Okay.
that episode will be coming out soon.
All right, sounds good. So yeah, do check that out. Keep your eyes peeled to our socials. Again, please do give us a like and a follow. Like the video, subscribe, and follow Iron Cannon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD. I've been busy still. I haven't gotten anywhere. I might literally go to New York, but being on the internet with Tractor Beam Comics reviews right here on the Underworld YouTube channel and everywhere you get your podcasts. Comics are for Wednesdays are for comics. And yeah, Chris Abbott and I have been chugging along, gave a few of our New York Comic Con updates, but of course every Wednesday when comic books come out, there's Star Wars comic books that come out every Wednesday, and we chat about them, we talk about them, things that stood out to us. And this week, so right off the bat, you say, yeah, Battle of Jakku, Insurgency Rising #3 coming out in a nice clip, and High Republic Adventures #11. That's also coming along strong. And going back, because I finally finished Tears of the Nameless by George Mann, which I'll get to in a little bit. I can finally now read Echoes of Fear #2. It's High Republic Adventures. There, the High Republic Adventures firing on all cylinders. So yeah, please do check that out right here on the Underworld YouTube channel, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, Wednesday, and we'll keep it locked, keep it going. I will plug one more thing there on last week's Tractor Beam. As part of going through all this New York Comic Con news there with Chris, different combinations of conversations like that. Anyway, we also played our exclusive interview with Alex Segura on from
Nice.
New York, from the brilliant, beautiful, wonderful artist Sally at New York Comic Con. We just went up to him, said, "Hey, we got the recorder. Wanted if I ask you some questions," and we did. And so please do check that out. I don't quite know what the timestamp is there, but Yeah, it's somewhere in that in the YouTube video. I'll probably look into making that available in audio only at some point soon. So please do check that out. But for now, yeah, we're gonna keep on chugging along. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, do check that. Yeah, again, Wednesday. Speaking of Battle of Jakku, speaking of Insurgency Rising, what do you want to talk about this week, Joel?
Well, I want to talk about Jakku. Everybody wants to go back to Jakku. I have been reading the Battle Jakku issues 1 and 2. I'll probably be able to read 3, hopefully, on Wednesday. I have been loving this comic. This comic is probably my favorite comic of the year of
Really?
what I've been reading. Yeah, it's great. It's such a culmination of just all the Jakku things up to this point. Uh, we got Gallus, Rex, we got to see Ray Sloan, we got to see obviously Lucan and Leia. We get to see that Governor Alahart guy finally get an in-story thing that's not just a mobile game.
Right.
You can't even play anymore, apparently. Lost media there. We get to see the acolytes of the Beyond again.
Yeah.
We got to see Luke on, is it Pilio?
Yeah, it was Pilio.
Pilio after he talked with Del.
I think it's just before.
We got a little bit.
No, after. You're right. It's after. You're right.
We got to see Jarek Yeager from Resistance, so Resistance fans are winning. We get all the stuff. It's like it really is making it's such a good companion piece with the Aftermath books and not Resistance anymore. I am Shattered Empire. There we go.
Yeah,
Shattered Empire, and I do wonder like what it's all gonna culminate in, like what different aspects of the Jakku storyline will it add? I mean, outside I guess of Lucan and Leia, of course, Alhart. Like will they be able to tie it in more with what we know now with Rise of Skywalker? Because now the sequel trilogy is done, so it's sort of like the Aftermath book doesn't have to play a little bit of like, this is kind of how the First Order gets started. Like, we can now say like, well, this is how Rex really factored into Palpatine. The Palpatine's been reborn on Exegol, and he's the Sith Eternal are doing their thing. Gotta. It's nice to see Acolytes of the Beyond again. They kind of dropped off the map for a while. They got like one appearance in Shadows of the Sith, which is nice. Let's just see what else. Hey, we got to see a little bit of Gallius Rex in the flesh, kind of in shadow. Sweet white.
Where do we see? I'm trying to is it number 2 already?
Yeah, number 2.
Right.
I wonder if we'll see Hux Senior. I hope so. And Hux.
Yeah.
I hope we do. I hope they go do other perspectives like from them again, even though most of that stuff's already in the Aftermath novel. I swear that one acolyte who had like red hair. I'm like, I bet you they drew her like that just to look like Mara J, just to mess with people.
Probably.
I guarantee that. I love Adelhard. And his backstory with like Thrawn and whatnot. And I brought this up with Dan when he was on a couple weeks ago, and something I brought up here is it's interesting how everyone always talks about how they wish they had started with Lucan and Leia with the Aftermath story, but I wonder if it's actually waiting so long and getting the events built up around Lucan and Leia, and now finally getting the Lucan and Leia story last with those sort of events already pre-built into the lore. Actually has made the story a lot better in hindsight than just starting with them at the beginning and making this a culmination and not just the beginning of the Aftermath semi-multimedia project by happenstance has actually benefited than hurt in the long run. But overall, I've just been having a ball with this comic. And I'm curious to see where it all leads to and what it won't and where it goes and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's a great point. That it really, the culmination, and was definitely the missing piece. We get a lot of Leia and Han in Life, Debt, and Empire's End, but those are. I mean, we also get a lot of Mon Mothma. We're getting Mon Mothma, of course, in this book too. And one of the things I asked Alex was that what's it like? What was it like the conversation with, and there wasn't necessarily much a conversation with Chuck Wendig, but the in conversation with the novels that have come out. 10 years came out, what, 9-10 years ago, and he said he reread them, and he said, what's the opportunity here, and the opportunity specifically for Luke and what he's curious about, what he cares about. It definitely they definitely left that gap. I think two things. Yes, you mentioned with the sequel trilogy, and that, the sequel trilogy, and he's showing up in the Mandoverse. But yeah, all that where we know he's going. I'm thinking of these two books behind me. That a comic book is gonna
Which
build off
books?
of. I'm talking. This is like the Star Wars Ongoing by Charles Soule and
Okay.
the Darth Vader by Greg Pak. You know, those just finished. Those just
Mhm.
wrapped, and so Luke having those that journey of self discovery before he can then have a journey of discovery. Well, while he's having the journey of the discovery of the past, both his father's heritage and uh, and the heritage of the Jedi, especially in Greg Pak's comic does a lot of work for that. And so then you step forward. He's already, of course, he's also gone through the events then of Return of the Jedi.
Mhm.
He's able to be in a more settled place in this book. So now it's Leia's turn. And that was so stunning in issue number 2 was Leia going up to the pyre and
I thought that was issue
confronting,
one.
maybe that's issue 1. Either way, in this book so far, Leia going up to that pyre and saying and having to this newfound reality, the person who effectively had a hand in killing her or her adopted parents,
Tortured her in the
yeah,
Death Star, which
tortured Death
was
Star, is her birth father. Yeah, that's something. I mean, I think Legends may have touched on a little bit, but we're getting it directly in canon now. We got it, and we got a little bit with Claudia Gray in Bloodline. We're getting it more directly now, so there's another connection. So yeah, it's off to such an amazing start. I agree, and um, definitely, and just to say, if anyone who wants to get into comics, Star Wars comics, like I said, it is a good place to start. Yeah, probably some things are going to be a little different and more interesting if you've the read the previous Star Wars comics,
Mhm.
but not necessarily. You don't have to have completely, right. It's all you have to have known is Return of the Jedi in the original trilogy, really, and you're good to go. Even if you haven't read the Aftermath, I think some things are definitely going to connect. But my sense is it's written as all good Star Wars, especially good paper canon, should be written for. Not all good paper canon. I'm looking at you, High Republic, but written for those who haven't read anything before and those who have read everything before. It works on both those levels, so that's definitely a plus for that one. Yeah, I think was there another thing I was gonna say. I don't know. If you have, the Aftermath
It's
trilogy and all that.
certainly
Oh, and even with like I only the only thing about Adelhard I knew of was from the Aftermath interludes. Now I did know a little bit nominally about the game and how he's there, but I never played the game, and I'm okay. Like we got more story of him now than even with I think we have with Chuck Wendig, and I'm pleasantly surprised at uh, how prominent he is and how interesting of a villain he is. So good.
I was glad they brought. I mean, I was glad about that. I was glad they brought in Rax too, because Rax had just kind
Yeah.
of been forgotten for
Yeah.
years. Like he really has. Like he does not. He has only showed up in the Aftermath books, and that's it. No, he gets
True.
one name drop in the Last Jedi novelization, and maybe like some visual dictionaries,
Mm-hmm.
and that's about it. So it's like finally he's back, even though technically it's in the same era as before. They haven't really done any stories with him before, before Aftermath. But that's nice. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you need to read any of the ongoings. I'd probably read Shattered Empire before I
Yeah.
read this, but that one's
Yeah, that's probably true.
that one's probably more of a good starter
Mm-hmm.
before this whole thing.
Yeah, especially with the Damerons.
Right. And
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see, because I'm curious to see how the Aftermath and this book talk to each other. Not in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like, oh, they're gonna retcon anything, or like,
No.
but like Aftermath is, like Gallius Rax is in the second issue, But Rax is way more prominent in the
Yeah.
book. Like that is his story.
Yeah.
He and Sloane are kind of the main stars here. I
Mhm.
don't know how prominent they're going to be moving forward. Um, even though, although I'm sure they'll make some appearances. It's like we know Rax's backstory in the book. That's from the book. You know, Rax is what
Yeah.
he does in Jakku. That's in the book. So it's like, you know, do they want to just retread ground again in the comics? Like we know
Mhm.
Rax is from Jakku and he's Palpatine's boy and he's gonna do the
Mhm.
thing on the observatory, right? Like, you know, I don't know how much ground they want to retread there. So
Yeah.
I'll be curious to kind of see like when both of these stories are kind of finished. It's like, okay, if you want like you know, if I could tell them like you want Gallius Rax, Race Alone, read the book. Want Luke
Yeah.
Skywalker, read the comic, right? So we're like,
Yeah.
go here. That's something. One fun little thing I'll bring up. I have so many things about Jakku, but I know we are short on time, so I won't go
Yeah.
into everything. Hopefully, I'll be on a tractor beam so I can
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe when the arc is done, we'll talk about it.
but one thing like about one particular issue is issue 2 is when Luke is fighting the acolytes. The acolytes are like, you know, we're just waiting because we know Darth Vader and the Emperor. They're gonna come back at the dark side. And like Luke and like the Emperor and Vader are dead. And I kind of find it funny because like these crazy people think, oh, the Vader and the Emperor are gonna come back, and it's like I just imagine the Sith
Mhm.
Eternal cult people are just looking at them as like, should we tell them? Yeah, we'll let
Yeah.
them just do their thing, and then
Yeah.
back to Exegol we go. I actually hope some Sith
Yeah.
Eternal come up because I want to know like the acolytes clearly think one thing, but the Sith Eternal are like the real deal. So it's like it seems like the
Mhm.
acolytes are like the second tier Sith who like think the big thing, but like they're not. They
Sure.
don't get to know the cool stuff. But like the Sith Eternal, are like, oh, we know Palpatine's back on Exegol. We just sitting there watching it all happen.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that'll be fun. That'll be fun. But yeah, overall, man, I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
I mean, there's definitely room for Ochi to do
Oh
more.
yeah, I
You
hope
know,
we
I
get
mean, again, speaking of the Greg Pak comic,
speaking of
yeah,
comics.
Ochi can continue on in this. I mean, that's the thing is, there's only so much real estate. There's 10
Yeah.
more issues left. One of them again comes out on Wednesday,
Mhm.
and they're comic books, right? They aren't that long. So, I mean, I think getting more of Luke's story seems to be at least what I want more of. Seems to be
And
more
we'll
of a
probably
priority.
get. I
Yeah,
think.
but like how, but again, it is telling the story of the Battle of Jakku, but from Luke's perspective and Leia's perspective, which again we hadn't really gotten much of. So
Right. Like if
you
you want like again, like that's why I said like if you want like the rack side of things, that's why you go to
know,
the book.
yeah, exactly. That's a great point. Yeah. Speaking of things that definitely require you to read everything that came before, I just finally finished Tears of the Nameless uh, last night. It was, yeah, it wasn't not that it was a hard read. It's just I can be a bit slow with these things. Taking my time. I was enjoying it. Letting it stew because it gave me I posted this on my personal Instagram today, yesterday. It's rare that a book gives me exactly what I was hoping for in a way that still engages me. And I've said this a few times on this podcast, just because you can predict something doesn't mean it's bad. In fact, if you can predict it, that means you're invested in it, means that you might be rewarded by a moment. So, without spoiling too much, the moment something I was really, really hoping for really happened in this book, especially with Wreath. And then something what I wasn't expecting also happened that also fits really well with his character, and going simply beyond just hiding in a library, but going out and experiencing the galaxy. And that's what I really appreciate about his arc overall, and about this novel in particular, how well it goes into, yeah, that he's a student of history, he's a student of science, he's a student of myth, but that's all about how do we face the realities of the world today and the galaxy today. These Nameless and these Nile, and what do we do, and how do we sort that out in this blight? What do we do? So definitely appreciate that. I also just this afternoon went back and read Quest of the Jedi from the phase 2 one shot about Barnard's Fim, because that's why this one's we're also going to read Echoes of Fear. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Echoes of Fear number 2, all about the Echo Stones again. And Just amazing to see the similarities. This ocean planet that's sustained by these stones, and of course it's a young Padawan Aslan Rel in in the temple archive reading the story of Barnabas Finn, and just again continuing to be astounded by the foresight, the planning, the plotting out, how well they I mean, they had to have left some things. We'll sort that out as the story develops, but the big points they really hit, and then they were able to seed that in. It brings me back to when Charles talking to Alex Damon, and then again at New York Comic Con, he talked about Trials of the Jedi and how everything's going to spiral and spiral and come down to one very short small moment, and everything's going to hinge on that. And while he was saying that at the Lucasfilm Publishing panel, my mind uh, went to Light of the Jedi, because he also said it's going to make you feel like you felt with Light of the Jedi, and the excitement and the tension of that. It made me think, oh, it's going to be a lot like how when Avar prevented that ship from crashing into the Hetzel son of the star Hetzel, which would have destroyed the system and a good chunk of the galaxy's agriculture supply. And so at the last moment, Avar is able to be the hero of Hetzel. And yeah, I went up to him at New York Comic Con and told him this thought, and he gave me a bit of a smirk. He's like, "Oh yeah, it's like I have this planned out." So that's again, you need to have read basically everything, which is maybe a drawback to some people. The fact that
They marketed the High Republic as an ongoing story. I think at this point, it's like
yeah,
they should people should
at least have an awareness, but you'll really be rewarded. You'll really be excited by reading things that came out like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and for that to have come back. I mean, everything in phase 2 is clearly relevant in phase 3. That's that they really thought that out through the whole time jump. They thought that through really well. Be interesting to go back to phase 1 and think about what I haven't actually reread anything from phase 1, but to go back and say, oh yeah, I wonder, oh yeah, that's kind of that's something from like phase 2. I mean, the 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 folks, oh we got Zine and Crix, their planet, their people, very clearly inspired by the Path of the Open Hand as well. And so it's fascinating for Crix to now be sort of, I mean, it's complicated in High Republic Adventures. He was part of the Nile, and then now it's we don't know. His loyalties are more with Zine than anything else. But yeah, they all that to say, uh, it's coming to a very strong finish. Um, we'll get into some High Republic news in a bit, but yeah, definitely. Tears of the Nameless really hit home, and I think I might want to do something kind of a more spoiler conversation about that at some point. But maybe Wednesday, maybe Chris and I will go into it on Wednesday. But yeah, that again it hits on Star Wars at its best. I say this all the time. Star Wars at its best hits on the cosmic and the political and the personal. And the political can mean in Reith's case, it means what do we do with the Nameless? What do we do with the Blight? Well, the answer to that is in this ancient lore, and it's in his courage to step up and lead the team, lead the crew to in future storytelling. So, yeah, Georgia Man knocked out of the park. This is probably going to be. I know it's too soon to tell, but probably one of my top 5 all time Star Wars novels, which is saying something. But it hits everything I want. So there it is. There's High Republic for you. Yeah, there you go. All right. We can move right along. We got some news. About Charles Soule. Speaking of Charles Soule, and he ain't going anywhere. He isn't going anywhere. We thought, is he going to take a break from Star Wars? He's writing. Just the other day, announced a new Daredevil comic that he's writing with Steve McNiven. but he's still doing Star Wars. Still doing Star Wars on October 24th, just a few days after New York Comic Con. I will get to that in a bit. But this is the exciting news first. Yeah, StarWars.com announced Kylo Ren is ready to finish what his grandfather started. Soon, the Supreme Leader of the First Order will follow in the footsteps of Darth Vader with a new Marvel comic series, Star Wars: The Legacy of Vader. I will get that if I can find this. Get that up right there. Look at that right there. Of course, that's written by Charles Soule, art by Luke Ross, and you see that cover by Derek Chu. Issue number 1 releases Wednesday, because Wednesdays are for comics, February 5th, 2025. Not this Wednesday, unfortunately, but it'll come. It'll come sooner than we think. So Charles himself said that this is a chance to explore an extremely rich section of the timeline that's almost entirely open. Kylo Ren's time as Supreme Leader of the First Order. So it's set between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, right? When he becomes first Supreme Leader. And then the article then continues. I'll bring this wonderful internal art up by Luke Ross. Legacy of Vader revisits Kylo's enduring connection to his maternal grandfather, the Empire's enforcer, Darth Vader, and further explores how the events of Vader's past guide Kylo's choices as he leads the First Order. And again, you see him going to Mustafar. We see him pretty much in Korvac's Fen there, or at least with Grandpa's old home, old apartment building in the distance there. So this is really fantastic news. My second thought, I'll get to my first thought again later on. My second thought was, well, that answers the question of how are they going to continue having a Vader comic. Now, I don't think this is going to be a very long run, but having a Vader comic, that Vader there is the same font that the all three of the Darth Vader runs. This is kind of a fourth Vader run, but from the perspective of Kylo Ren, when he has more power than Vader ever had. He is kind of the equivalent of Palpatine in this sense. He's the Emperor.
Kind of what Anakin Skywalker would have been if he didn't get all burnt.
Exactly. And so, it's finally the first time a Skywalker is actually in charge of the galaxy, for worse, not for better, but for worse. But it answers that question in a really, really exciting way. In the article, Charles also brought up both his 2017 run and the Rise of Kylo Ren. That 2017 run, of course, being my favorite comic book of all time, Darth Vader. Again, the same Vader text there. So that's what excites me. You're excited for a different reason, which is equally valid. I want to get into what you're so stoked about this book for.
Well, first off, I can't help but just imagine the conversation where Charles was walking into a Marvel exec going, "We're running out of Vader timeline. We can't market Vader." And then it's like, I got a Kylo Ren comic, and the marketing manager just going, wait. Isn't he Vader's grandson? Charles was going, yes. Legacy of Vader. Yeah. Put the Vader stamp on it. We're telling it in a Vader comic. We can make it the money.
That's part of it, for sure.
I get to write my comic. No, I mean, finally, first off, sequel era content after how long? 2019. Jack Diddley.
Yeah, trying to think. When was his Charles Poe Dameron comic? Ended around there, I guess.
Before then, I think 2018.
Yeah.
So this is kind of an era that sort of, sequel era in general has been very barren for a while now, and this is some really good real estate, I must say. I mean, because I think one thing a lot of us were a little disappointed by Rise of Skywalker is we don't get to see Kylo Ren being all the Supreme Leader. He gets to, Palpatine comes back and gets to do Palpatine things. So now we get to see a little bit in some comics, but not much. And finally, here's the comic dealing with Kylo Ren getting to be the Supreme Leader of the First Order. I'll be curious to see how much Charles Soule focuses on Kylo's inner turmoil, but also oh shoot, I gotta run a First Order government thing. Yeah. What do I gotta have cabinet meetings. I don't want to do that.
I want to fly to Mustafar.
Yeah, I want to fly to Mustafar and be emo. I don't want to deal with all the officers and pucks. So that's fun. It's gonna build off. I think Charles Soule's a big TLJ fan, so probably gonna build off a
Yeah.
lot of things TLJ got to set up, and Trust kind of didn't get too. Kind of it also be like that bridge between the two series.
Hmm.
If I had to guess, I think this goes for at least 25 issues.
Really?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it. I think it's. I mean, that's as long as the Charles Soule's Vader run, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, but let's see. Yeah, this is ongoing. At
Yeah.
least
So
Wikipedia is ongoing. So yeah, it could be.
I don't think they're gonna go
Yeah.
for 50, but I think it can go for at least 25.
They crammed
Yeah.
a bunch into a year. They crammed 50 comics into the year between Empire and Return of the Jedi. So you never
So
know.
Kylo Ren's gonna like fight a droid zombie apocalypse, fight
Yeah.
Cthulhu, join a racing
Another
gang for like
Hansicle.
yeah, do a bunch, meet up with some old friends, from his childhood, have a quirky sidekick.
Yeah.
No, I think 25 issues at least. Meet Snoke's clone. Well, actually, that's another thing. Like we get to see like
Yeah.
what's Palpatine waiting for. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, here's the thing, because I know that a lot of the post TLJ stuff in like the Galaxy's Edge connections, that's like 6 months after
Mm,
TLJ. So I don't
yeah.
I don't expect to go all the way up to Tross to the last moment, but maybe. I
Hmm.
mean, you can if they want to. I mean, timeline wise, it'd be weird.
Yeah.
I think Charles Soule wants to flex, do a really cool flex. He
Yeah.
ends it by actually having a story thing do the Palpatine Fortnite speech. That would be awesome.
I don't know what the Fortnite is. That is in from the game Fortnite.
Yeah, so basically,
Okay.
there is a canon Fortnite event
All
in
right.
Star Wars where Palpatine delivers his message that he's alive.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, it's
I didn't
ridiculous,
even
but
know
it's
that. All right.
oh yeah, yeah, like how in the beginning of Trost, it's the
Yeah.
dead
Yeah.
speech.
Yeah.
That
Somehow probably.
that speech is actually in a Fortnite
Okay.
event. Yeah, I'll send it to you after the game. Like
Sure.
the speech is actually real.
I believe you.
Um, but
Yeah.
that'd be awesome. And it's just like I think it'd be interesting to see like Kylo's transition from Supreme Leader to to what we kind of see him in Tross a little bit.
Mhm.
Charles was very good at those bridging. So
Yeah.
and also as much as I wanted Gillen because I love Gillen, I love Gillen's
Hmm.
Vader. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
I think Charles was a really good candidate because he did the Rise of Kylo Ren comic,
Yeah.
so he'd already got experience with Kylo. Um, Maybe he'll build off some of the stuff he was doing in that comic. I mean, he made the Knights of Ren characters, so we
Hmm.
might see them a lot. He might have a bit of an idea for Snoke. Maybe I mean Snoke's dead, but maybe we'll get some flashbacks
Yeah.
or some more insights into Snoke.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I think this is good. This is what I think the sequel era need. We need books and comics again. We
Hmm.
need expanded material so that people can then mush the expanded material with their experience from the movies and then kind of see it all
Yeah.
as one thing.
Hmm.
And that's why like how the prequels got their love because of the expanded
Yeah.
material. And I think that can only help it. And who knows what Charles Soule will add? Like we get to kind of flesh out this era of timeline, which has been sorely lacking. So
Hmm.
I'm excited. I actually now kind of wonder if this is a signal to where maybe the mainline comic will be going, which we can speculate on later, honestly.
Sure.
Uh, and I'm just. But also speaking of Gillen, I'm just saying if the Marvel wants to play their marketing games, like I don't know, the Road to Vader, Kieran Gillen, set after Episode 1. Just
Yeah.
saying, do that.
Maybe.
That'd be fun. Um,
Maybe not call it that because I think that would be. We want Anakin to be the fun-loving kid a little bit, but
I mean, if he's a angsty teen, make him more
yeah.
in his
Oh,
angsty
sure.
teen years. We can do that.
Mhm.
But whatever. But I'm excited. This is probably the thing I'm looking forward to the most in February
Yeah.
in terms of paper stuff right now.
Mhm.
So I'm hyped. I'm excited. I hope this also gives lots of people different insights into Kylo Ren as a character
Yeah.
because we haven't seen him too much in a while.
Mhm. I have two thoughts. I mean, you said it in terms of the sequel trilogy needing more story to flesh it out for people to kind of get into it more and feel it more. One of the things that happened with my prequels conversion, this is how it worked. What happened is uh, a lot of comics, especially that Charles Soule comic that had prequel era stuff in sort of a Rise of the Empire milieu, more or less say had original trilogy visuals in just after the prequels. And so
I
yeah,
appreciate that. Yeah.
that kind of, again, just even putting the visual together and having uh Kylo as a character reflect on the great original trilogy character. I mean, he's not the only one, but uh one of it, of course, the most important. And so yeah, that part will hopefully have that effect. And just even in terms of thinking about him as a character and just how, I don't want to say obsessed he is, but how fixated he is on continuing his grandfather's legacy. I mean, it's called Legacy of Vader. I will finish what you started. That's
What does that
the
even
quote
mean?
there.
That's still
What
one
does
of those
that? Yeah,
things.
what does that mean for him? Does it mean? I mean, maybe it means for him, maybe he thinks it means going to be the Skywalker in charge of the galaxy, but then he finds out it isn't as satisfying, so he's continuing to chase and chase and chase, and he comes upon there might be something with the Sith Eternal there. Lastly, it kind of make me wonder, will Leia's presence loom uh at all in this? There's that
I hope.
amazing moment well, all these amazing moments in Last Jedi, but amazing moment where he could have shot her, literally blasted her out of the Radis, and he doesn't. He pulls back. The TIE fighter's flanking him, blast her out, but she's able to skywalk back in. There's still a bond, a connection. Of course, we know that scene in Rise of Skywalker was supposed to be Carrie Fisher, was supposed to be Leia. So that, as part of reflecting on the legacy of Vader, also the legacy of Leia, and just in terms of his own, just his own sense of where does he come from, who is he, based on where does he come from. And then what's amazing, of course, in Rise of Skywalker, one of the best things about Rise of Skywalker, I will say, is part of it, the son of Han Solo pushing him forward to say, okay, what is he going to do in the present?
Mm-hmm.
Chucking the lightsaber into the sea. Again, another lightsaber chuck. I just got that. There's
Oh
another
yeah.
lightsaber chuck into the sea. Going and um, joining Rey on Exegol to actually be a part of saving the day. And so, um, yeah,
I'm sorry. I have a few more thoughts now that I just
yeah.
thought
So
of
good.
heard you talk. Well, one
Hmm.
thing I think will be interesting to kind of clarify, because this is
Hmm.
not clarified in the movies.
Hmm.
It is in the novelization, but who knows how
Yeah.
much of that's going to stick. Is what is Kylo's actually thoughts of Anakin Skywalker, right?
Yeah.
Like that's something I don't quite know, except with the novelization of Force
Yeah.
Awakens, which you can't really take for too much granted. Because
Hmm.
okay, so in the novelization of Force Awakens,
Yeah.
Ben Solo knows about Anakin Skywalker, and he thinks that's Vader's greatest failure. That you
Yeah.
chickened out in the last second, and that's what Snoke told him. Like Anakin Vader, like perfect
Yeah.
career, the Dark Sider.
Yeah.
He just chickened out in the last second and screwed
Yeah.
us over. So he knows. Kylo's very much aware, and that's like he's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to chicken out supremely with Snoke. I'm going to be the baddest
Hmm.
bad dude in the badness. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Vader thing gets a little bit dropped after Force Awakens, weirdly enough, in both
Yeah.
Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi. Um,
Hmm.
so it's like Last Jedi, obviously he's Kylo kind of like like, no, I'm not going to be Darth Vader. I'm going to be even better than Darth Vader. I'm going to be I'm going to be the Emperor pretty much. Look at me, big bad. I killed my master and didn't go all soft and icky. But obviously, I like what the
Yeah.
comic's doing, obviously, because the point of Kylo is he's not a self confident, dude. He's like manic and all over the place. Like, oh shoot, now I gotta go back to Vader because I got
Yeah.
nobody else. Like, I killed Snoke. And Ray, my mom doesn't want to talk to me. Ray
Hmm.
doesn't want to talk to me. By the way, they mentioned Ray. And actually, the splash page do mention Ray and Leia, so I have a
Okay.
feeling they'll
Yeah.
probably be important characters.
Yeah.
They mentioned like he almost killed his mom but couldn't, and then he fell in love with Ray, but she's like, I don't want to do with that right now. You all
Yeah.
dark side, yeah. So Kylo's not a good. Kylo's not a happy guy. So, but
Yeah.
back to point here. I do wonder if they'll deal with the Anakin Skywalker in the ball. Because you and I have talked about Anakin not appearing and the Force goes to bed and how
Yeah.
whether and how much of that actually really matters to him if compared to Han Solo, obviously, because my whole thing of I think Ben's true hero in life is probably his dad more than his grandfather, for
Hmm.
being perfectly honest.
Yeah.
But I do think that'll be interesting to see if do they clarify what does Ben Solo think of Anakin Skywalker, and does Anakin Skywalker play any sort of role? And it'd be
Hmm.
interesting to see. And this is kind of what I would do, kind of as maybe my little bitterness to some of the fans who think that Anakin should appear in Tross is Anakin can appear, but actually he doesn't do anything to help. He actually
Oh yeah.
make it worse. No, the only person could really help him at this point are his mom and dad. That's who he
Yeah.
needs to talk to. Grandpa can't do anything, both the good version and the evil version.
Yeah.
That's definitely one kind of thing I would hope to see, and I'm sure Soul will. I mean, I don't want to guess if Soul will do it, but
Yeah.
obviously, I think Soul is very much. I think Soul's aware of this kind of stuff, and I also think he's good at kind of weaving these sorts of things
Sure.
together. So that'd be something I hope to see as well. It's the Anakin of it all.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think it's possible. I wonder if there's a note from the store group to say save that for Ahsoka. Um,
Think Kylo
so
Ren's gonna show up in Ahsoka?
no, Anakin. We got him for a second, but save him for Ahsoka season 2 to have more, right? I mean, we obviously there's episode 5, but then the end of the season 1. So that because I mean we need going kind of Dom's thought about the legacy of Anakin, right? That I mean we need Luke to work that out more. Like I said, he already has in a lot of ways. Even even by Return of the Jedi was his working out of that. But we need Leia to work that out. Then we can have Kylo Ren. But this is also part of it. So if Anakin shows up, it's kind of him again implied, more looming in the background. Because we know what the reality is. We know that maybe Kylo is going to find some sense of being misguided or something.
But we know Palpatine's talking in his head.
That's true too. So yeah, that might have something to do with it. But yeah, curious to see what he finds. I mean, we know the deleted scene at the beginning of it's not a deleted scene, but the deleted scene at least establishes that he's on Mustafar at the beginning of Rise of Skywalker. Here he's come back. Clearly, that wasn't the first time he was there. So this has got to be in the first issue. It's like a trailer, right? This has got to be the first issue. So
I mean, he never said he didn't go there multiple times.
Sure.
Just this time he had to go there for a specific reason.
Yeah. So I'm wondering what he's looking for here.
Right.
Be curious. So
not the Wayfinder, that's for sure.
No.
Later.
Anyways, we got to move on because we got a bunch of things to talk about. That speaking of which,
I have so many more questions.
Gotta have a Vader comic Vader adjacent.
Marvel gonna make that money.
There we go. So speaking of which, yes, a lot of this, yeah, we haven't got Chris and I haven't gotten to talk about this on Tractor Beam because it was announced the day after Tractor Beam. So not the week before Tractor Beam, which there's a segue. Here's a segue. Here's a segue to talking about New York Comic Con. We're gonna get back a lot of this similar notes from similar things from Wednesday, but kind of different order, maybe more of an eye on Canon focus. Definitely gonna have more talk about the book cover reveals, but not more importantly, but also, I kind of said what they haven't announced and what they didn't announce and why. So my second thought was, this Vader book is, that's exciting that they're gonna continue Vader's story by exploring it through Kylo Ren's lens, but also why wasn't this announced at New York Comic Con? Why did Christina start to say to Charles, this was this awkward moment at the Lucasfilm Publishing panel? She's all to Charles, oh yeah, and you're writing something for Marvel, and Charles interrupts her, said, I thought we weren't going to talk about that. And yeah, I mean, anyone who's in the room, that was such an awkward moment because maybe the intent was to do that, and then at the last minute something pulled back. I don't know. I give a rant about how, so the long story short, we didn't get what we didn't get. We didn't get a cover reveal for Trials of the Jedi. We didn't get anything about any kind of confirmation about what the next big era of Star Wars comics is going to be, what the ongoing is going to be. We only got was Charles saying, "I know what it is, but I'm not going to tell you." I gave a rant about that on Star Raptor's channel, YouTube.com/Star Raptor, in part of our New York Comic Con full on recap. And so, yeah, kind of saying, basically, include us for Lucasfilm to say, include us, concerned about the that the J.J. Abrams black box for screen and the reticence about release dates and all that. It's really funneled down into also how they promote publishing and how they don't promote publishing. And again, I wonder if part of that and part of the reason they didn't announce the next big era of Star Wars storytelling, Star Wars comics rather, maybe just like what we saw with the films and how all the behind the scenes nonsense and how writers not being kind of on board or on the same page in terms of like screenwriters and the story treatments and all that, not being on the same page. Colin Trevorrow and Josh Trank and all that stuff has said, no, this comic book thing has to be completely set in stone. The ink has to have dried on the contracts. Everything, basically the first issue has to be in and done before they actually tell us anything, or else we're gonna have egg on our face because all these delays and production delays and Diamond having its distribution problems and all that stuff. So maybe this the thing they're looking over to all the problems that Screen had and say, okay, we're gonna be hesitant there as well. I'm just trying to understand, right? Kind of be a bit more understanding, because the fact is, it basically says, and this is what I mean by what I meant by they're letting the fandom menace win. It communicates that they don't trust us. They don't trust us as fans. They don't trust us as people who are making content, commenting on these things. Did not get any kind of update at all. If they're still trying to sort out, nail down details, if they're trying to plot things out, if it's in progress. Again, I keep saying this. Tell us that. Just say that. Come on. It's fine.
See,
We
to be
understand.
honest, Matthew, I think
Well, I'm
you're
not done. Let me finish the whole thing. I got to finish the whole thing first.
Okay, but the Phantom Menace is not winning. They don't matter.
I know, but no. Well, hold on. I wonder. This is just a little small part of it. I wonder if they're afraid that if they release anything, then the jerks will just slap up. Because I do think part of why the Acolyte was canceled, part of it.
It's not. It really
Part
is.
of it. Let me finish my point. You disagree. That's fine. You're allowed to disagree. But while we're disagreeing, let me finish everything I want to say.
Okay.
It definitely it contributed a small part to the bad mojo. Yes, the Acolyte was not the quality of storytelling of screen storytelling that they want. It's not the right medium of screen storytelling that they want. They want to be a film franchise. I get that, but also the mojo did not help, and the fact that we're not getting any of that, we have no idea what the story. I do think, in terms of announcing things, I think there is that reticence there, and I'm here to say you're right. The Phantom Menace doesn't matter. Come on, Lucasfilm, actually trust us with some sort of communication with it. That was kind of what I was saying. I think another thing is here's another thing. Maybe Joel, you might agree with this a little more. What if there is this sense of competition between New York Comic Con and San Diego Comic Con on the one hand, and D23 and Celebration on the other, and the fact that Star Wars does nothing at San Diego, where Marvel, oddly enough, Marvel was able to split just in this past July, was able, whenever it was, just able to split between San Diego and D23. They have a long-standing tradition of being in Hall H and making a big splash, making the biggest splash in Hall H. But they're also at D23 giving us a lot of juicy details there too. Star Wars to zilch, nada at San Diego. I mean, I guess there was also a publishing panel, but nothing about screen. They save all the screen things.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's where the Acolyte stuff happened.
Yeah, they save all the screen things to D23. We thought the Acolyte would be there. Anyway, yeah, that's true. There was the book reveals, and we're gonna get to more news about the book reveals. And I, as a business thing, I can say, and again, this continues my point about does the strategy and the culture about how they promote screen content at cons, does that also then trickle to how they promote paper content at cons? And it seems bizarre because then what we're left with, because here's the weird thing with comics especially, is timing. And this is what the Charles Soule book really demonstrates. This announcement really demonstrates to me is that they would rather leave off a major announcement and stick it on a website than have it be announced at a property that they don't own and they don't control. Namely, now it's Reed Pop. Reed Pop, of course, does also the Celebration, but they don't man. I mean, I don't know what the revenue and the ownership, how that works, but it's, Celebration is Star Wars' own thing. D23 is Disney's own thing, of course, in the names. And yet they needed to announce this now. Why they're more content with announcing again this major thing. There were another announcements. We'll get to the most substantive reveals in a bit, but they weren't. It was disappointing. It wasn't what I was hoping for. Again, trust us with some communication. Give us the Charles Soule book. It would have. Here's the problem. Here's the flaw in that logic. In part, I think. In part because yes, the timing, and whatnot. If they were concerned maybe with the Charles Soule book overshadowing his, maybe he was concerned, I don't know, with overshadowing his Daredevil announcement and his creator own, the Lucky Devils release, and because he was going to talk about that at the Image panel, I'm guessing he did. Overshadow the Mark Guggenheim and Ethan Sachs announcements that we'll get to very soon. I don't think that's how it works. I think these build on each other. They amplify them, right? This is this thing. Oh, again, we got this thing, and then we got this thing. Oh, they're all such great announcements. And then we got an update to say, trust us. Here's the thing. And this is what I mean by trust. Trust us to let what am I trying to say? Lucasfilm needs to trust us to trust that the creative process takes time, and to say we have a great thing in the pipe. We can't quite announce it just yet because we're still iterating, we're still working on it. When it's in a shape where we can bring it to you, we will, because the creative process takes time. That's what they aren't trusting us with. And I'm all about letting the creative process take time. That is the lesson of Solo, right? Let the creative process take time. That's fine, but at least tell us that. Again, this thing about how the competition between cons, and it works like at a con, it could have amplified it. This whole strategy of releasing things at cons and revealing things at cons, yes, on the one hand, they're probably thinking, okay, if someone is going to choose between Celebration and New York Comic Con in San Diego, we want them to choose Celebration. Fine. I will admit, for a split second, I had a pause about going to Celebration. Only because I am going to Celebration. The pause is over, but only because what the New York Comic Con lack of announcement made me think was, oh, do they just not announce things at cons anymore? Enough at cons anymore? Are they only going to announce things online? Now, here's the thing: is of course, when you announce something at con, you're also announcing it online. I used the article on StarWars.com to compile these notes, but I was also in the room, part of the excitement, part of the buzz, and then part of the letdown a little bit that we didn't get the big thing. So again, my same appeal. I see the Iger business decision, and I hope it doesn't backfire, but it's starting to feel like it's backfiring, right?
It's not though, because at the end of the day, and it's my big disagreement with you.
Yeah.
The mojo doesn't matter. That's all online, and that's not real. That has no effect on anything.
But what if let me say what I mean there is, what if there are, just saying this is such a small niche, but what if there are comics fans who are, maybe I should go to Celebration. Oh, but they didn't reveal much at New York Comic Con. Oh, there may be a culture of not releasing much at New York Comic Con. Maybe I shouldn't bother with Celebration. Right.
I doubt that, because I don't think they care as long as you're buying the comics. So,
well, but they'd rather. But in this case, it's as long as you're buying the ticket to Celebration as opposed to the ticket to San Diego. Or New York. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, but yeah, I could totally. Obviously, yeah, like they have their own Comic Con. Why do they want to bother with other people's Comic Con? They own it.
And that's what I'm saying is I think that's a misguided strategy. I think they amplify on each other. There's an overall strategy of being reticent about these things when they should take full advantage of it.
But also, maybe we just have to admit, Star Wars is not that big a franchise anymore. They're pulling back. Marvel wants to pull back. I know people want Marvel to pull back more. They're sick of the MCU.
That's true.
So, and also, maybe Star Wars is just getting ready for a quiet year in 2025 of just nothing. I doubt it's just nothing. It's not going to be just nothing because we got some coming out. But, it's like, we don't really want Star Wars to be that big in 2025, so you miss it and go see Mando. So there's that.
Yeah. But I mean, even talking about the paper reveals.
Let's face it, the paper reveals aren't really what the big wigs care about.
That's true.
Yeah, it's the movie reveals that matter. Here's a screen thing. They haven't even talked about a new animated show yet, and I know there's one existing. There has to be one. Probably it's already made in the can. At least AC one is. So there's that. I think another thing to kind of remember is, sorry guys, paper canon doesn't really factor in that much to the marketing as the movies do. Maybe so that's why another reason why it's so hectic, because here's a comic, enjoy. You're all gonna buy it anyway.
Maybe. That's all the more. Just take another 5 minutes in the panel just to. Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's just what I'm specifically getting at is that whatever the marketing of the production of the screen folks want to do, leave the paper folks alone and let us have our reveals.
I think they do. I don't think they. I really doubt that the movie stuff affects this paper stuff that much, outside of, like, I don't know, you can't tell a Luke story. But I don't think it really affects the marketing at all that much, if I'm going to be quite honest.
I'm connecting dots is what I'm saying. And I think I don't know. I just, again, why didn't they reveal? Why didn't they give us anything about the major era?
The scary thing is maybe they don't know themselves.
But they do. Charles says he knows.
True. That's true.
And then say, if they don't know, if they're iterating, then tell us that. That's all. Anyway, I'm done ranting.
Here's the thing about marketing and fans. At the end of the day, as long as it's not stopping you from buying it, it's
true.
It's only when the general audience aren't buying it that's a problem. But let's face it, the comic market is pretty secure.
Interestingly, oddly enough, surprisingly, and then what was I say?
Also, wouldn't Marvel be the one handling the marketing, not the?
No, Lucasfilm can say. It's Lucasfilm to say what they want to say. That's probably how the arrangement goes. So
who knows what department handles who for another reason. And it's like, I've heard about stuff about Marvel internally, like they slash their marketing and editors.
Probably. Look, the thing about, and this is get the counter back up. The stronger franchises at this con were, the panel I was looking forward to most. Also, the panel I enjoyed most. Yeah, I was looking forward to the Lucasfilm Publishing panel for all these reasons. panel that I enjoyed the most, the franchise that seems to be firing on all cylinders, is Star Trek. I gotta say,
Well,
it's
who
firing
knows if
also.
that's not Paramount's
There are
not doing so good.
no, that's true, but there are things in the can that they actually were able to talk to us about.
But
What
but
happened?
again,
Yeah, in a year we'll see. We'll see after Strange New Worlds is done. I agree with you mean, but
and also you can never. I feel like you're judging a little too much of what the internet says, which is
no,
limited.
I'm judging about what I was
Oh,
experiencing in
okay,
the actual room in person,
that's true.
right? At least for 2025,
Mhm.
uh, Star Trek is doing more than Star Wars. Hate to break it to everybody, but
I mean, to be fair, does Star Wars need to be doing a lot? Like there's
no,
another
that's
question that we
true.
could ask ourselves. It's like, does Star Wars need to
Yeah,
be a 3 film franchise a year like Marvel?
right.
One a year is fine, and maybe one show and one movie is
Yeah,
fine. It's that's actually something we could talk about. It's like it's weird when fans like when Star Wars tries to do more, fans just like reject it. Like we don't
yeah.
want more, and then we do.
That's yeah.
It's very confusing.
That is true. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we can dive into this. That was my rant, but we actually have news to talk about.
Yes,
So
we do
let's
have to.
dive right into it. Um, yeah, and I'll keep going. There was the most maybe the most substantive reveal. I don't think I have. Do I have the cover for this one? I
I
don't think I have
think
the
you
cover.
do. Let me check. Is it this
I
one?
don't think I have the cover for this one. No,
Ah, and
probably
it's
not.
such a good cover too.
Maybe it's in here somewhere. Yeah, the Mark Guggenheim, Madabek Muzabekov, doing a Janet. Let's see if I just trying to see if I have this cover. I don't think I have this cover here. I had it on Wednesday. I don't have it anymore. That's okay. Um, yeah. So maybe the most substantive reveal, and this is thing uh when they announced this, I turned over Chris. I gasped. They're doing give me a prequel era story. Mark Guggenheim, Madabek Buzabekov, Jedi Knights, and it's pairing up Jedi in each issue. Yeah, and it seems to be a bit like a kind of not episodic a little bit, but well, it'll be a little bit episodic, but also Mark afterwards told me there's going to be a through line with Qui-Gon Jinn and yeah, Qui-Gon Jinn and trying to remember. That was a different book. There's another
Dooku?
Qui-Gon book. Yeah, I don't know about so much Dooku, but
Oh,
um yeah, I think the Brother of the Ninth Door thing, that's from the Hyperspace Stories book. But there is going to be this through line following Qui-Gon, and this is set, I believe, it's set before the Phantom Menace. So, um, yeah. So also check out the day 2 panel reaction from on this channel for that. But so that's releasing in March, and then I'll jump ahead and talk about the again mentioned the Ethan Sachs news. Poe Dameron is back. Ethan Sachs is writing for Dark Horse, which is also interesting. It's a mini series set in the lead up to the events of Star Wars: The Force Awakens. And
isn't it a
so
max? Is it more than? I thought it was more than a mini. I thought it was like an ongoing.
the article says mini series. So
Okay.
that's interesting. I mean, that's a good question with both Mark's book and Ethan's book. What the lengths of these stories are going to be. When this Jedi Knight thing, I gasped like we're actually getting some prequel content where it's going to be it says it's an ongoing. I still don't quite know what that means other than the length is open
Anthology?
and it feels anthology like. The closest analog would be the Age of Republic, Age of Rebellion, Age of Resistance comics that were one shots, but they didn't really have any kind of through line at all. So this one having a Qui-Gon through line, yeah, that kind of that'll tie things together. Obviously, I'm a fan of Qui-Gon, huge fan of Qui-Gon, so that'll be good. And then, but yeah, it's that's releasing in March again. The only thing I understand about ongoing is that it's going to be kind of an unlimited length, and so um,
I for
that's something too. And then of course the Ethan Sachs book. That's some substantive news of these new stories coming out in 2025. What did you think of those two?
yeah,
Those two
those are
books?
probably my most I'm one of the most interested in.
Yeah,
I'll say like for me, when someone says ongoing and mini, to me mini is like 5 issues, right?
yeah,
That to me is a mini.
mhm.
Ongoing, like I think we're so used to like the 50 to
Yeah.
set the Soul 70 issues,
Uh,
or no, that was the first run that
he
well,
counts. So he counts the crossover events as part of it. So he says 70. Jason Aaron, Kieran Gillen, that was 75.
right. So they
That's
go
a
those two went to
monster.
seven.
Like,
Right. So those two went on, but Souls, if we don't count the crossover for a second. Well, you can, but obviously, if we're just going to stick
Yeah,
with the mainline
it's
titles,
49 with an annual.
yeah,
49 with
40.
an annual.
So at best, the original Vader and Soul run were ongoing, but those were 25 issues. So
Mhm.
like that to me is like an ongoing, which like it's
Yeah.
more than 12, but it's probably not as it can be as long as it wants to be, but like at best it's like 25.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
like that to me is probably like where I can see it, where it's like maybe it's like yeah, it's open ended, and maybe if it's as episodic as it wants to be, it could be one of those comics where it's like they can keep it going, but they don't reset and they just give it to another author
Yeah,
to
maybe.
write it. Like Mark Guggenheim did this, and now Charles Soule's turn, or Joby Harold, right? Like
Yeah.
you can
Jody
keep
Houser.
going.
Yeah.
Joby Howser, or they might reset it. They tend to do that sometimes. That's at least that's how Marvel does things.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I like the episodic anthology nature. I think we need that a little bit more.
Hmm.
I like my big arcs as much as any, but they can go on too long and they get a little tiresome. So like let's just have some one and done adventures with like
Yeah.
maybe a through line through it all, just to kind of like different perspectives, different Jedi,
Hmm.
all that fun stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. The Poe Dameron one, I'm just more curious, and I could say I'm excited about because
Hmm.
it's Dark Horse, and
Yeah.
Dark Horse doesn't really cover the more big canonical events compared to say
Hmm.
like the Marvel Kylo comic, which is kind of more the mainline thing. The Dark Horse stuff kind of tends to move more episodic, kind of more like here's
Yeah.
an
Well, it's
adventure,
all ages.
all ages. Here's an
Yeah.
adventure. So it's like, well, what exactly did Poe do before Force Awakens? We have an entire Charles Soule comic run to deal with that already.
Sure.
What are you cramming in now?
Yeah.
Like okay, I mean, sure, but I mean, good, but it's like I'm a little like, is it going to be on that same level? Is it more like here's just a fun, some Poe adventures, some Poe ventures? So
Hmm.
I'm not saying I'm not excited, but I'm just sort of like interesting.
Yeah.
I think I'm more excited though
Um.
for the Jedi one myself. That's cool.
Yeah. Uh. Chris, when thinking about this, he brought up Greg Rucka's Before the Awakening. So another all ages sort of anthology, 3 novel-ish stories with Finn, Ray, and Poe. Um, yeah, probably that kind of thing. We don't know. I mean, they didn't really give us much details other than I don't even know if they give us a release date for it. But this, oddly enough, this was during the Dark Horse panel where I was watching Star Trek during that one. So yeah, it goes to show the relative differences. But yeah, yeah, it is a curious thing that's coming out. It's kind of again you're right, what's gonna add. Um maybe I mean they haven't done much for Poe for all ages. They just did the Greg Rucka. So that's true. So we'll see. Um
That Greg
but
Rucka
yeah,
All Ages book is really good too.
yeah.
So
Um, and yeah, so I'll say yeah, the Guggenheim again, the biggest news, the bigger news, which goes to show you it's not that big of a news, but um, yeah, again the Jody Houser and then I forget who did Age of Rebellion, Age of Resistance. Those were one shots, but they're 9 1-shots each, and what's consistent is the quality. They're all fantastic, all 27 issues of them. Um, so trying to get that connecting variant, trying to figure that out. But yeah, this doesn't seem to be like one shots. I mean, it almost did, but then with this Qui-Gon through line, maybe you can do it. Like that's kind of what I recommend sometimes for people who are just getting into Star Wars comics. Also, say if you have a favorite character, pick up the Age of whatever of it, and you'll be good. But this one may work that way, might not. We'll see. Yeah, I'll be again curious to see what the through line is. I mean, I remember and this is also all ages, but Hyperspace Stories, the comic book, had a very thin through line. It was this teddy bear, this girl Wookiee. That was
oh
basically it.
yeah, I remember
That was
that.
basically the through line. Everything else was just one shots, basically. So,
Forgot about that.
um, or I guess 2 shots, 2 different stories, maybe. I don't remember. No, there were 1 shots, yeah. So yeah, so like again, that comes out in March. Um, Yeah, it should be good. Check out the tractor beam for that. Um, yeah, and then one of the questions again we had for Alex Segura was, like any kind of conversation with Ethan Sachs about this post series, because he of course wrote Poe Dameron Free Fall, which also there's an all ages book. There's a young adult book about Poe. Um, and yeah, Alex said he trusts Ethan to just run with this story. But yeah, there might be more connectivity there. So maybe I should read Poe Dameron Free Fall.
I heard it's
So,
really good, according
yeah,
to our friend Dan. So
yeah. So check that. And any last thoughts on these two bits of news before we move on?
no, those are probably from the currents of Comic Con stuff, the
Yeah,
most interesting comics that they announced, honestly.
yeah,
Giant one especially, and again the Poe one,
yeah,
little hesitant on because it's Dark Horse, not Marvel,
yeah.
but probably gonna be fun.
I will. To take your point, I will be buying those and I'll be reading those. They aren't adaptations of screen stories, so of course I will. And reviewing them on the tractor beam because that's what I do. All right, moving right along. I will say in that Lucasfilm publishing panel, especially, High Republic took center stage, and I don't think that was partly. I don't think it was because Christina Ariel was moderating, but I will say that was great to see her doing something. We missed the High Republic show, bring that back. But yeah, High Republic was really the core. A lot of stuff we saw, a lot of things that aren't necessarily new,
Mhm.
but a new depth to it, new filling out some of the edges. So uh first off, can't keep Lorna down. Lorna D so there's a few things coming out. Let's see, I gotta find this I gotta show. This is amazing. This is probably my favorite image of this panel. This is of Lorna, quote unquote, confronting Markian. Uh, and we'll get that story. This is part of Kevin Scott's Tempest Breaker audio drama. Then that comes out December 3rd. Yeah, they're tangoing, they're dancing, probably maybe on the Gaze Electric with some Nameless looking on, some Nile looking on. I'm fairly sure this is an assassination attempt of some sort, which will be fun. And
Spicy.
then, yeah, spicy. And then in the restarted ongoing High Republic comic from Marvel called Fear of the Jedi, we get this cover from by Phil Notice, of course, Kevin Scott, continuing on Lorna's story, also continuing on Key's story. There's Kalnaka on the floor there, probably Tasterek on the floor. But Lorna, her favorite Twilight Candy hero, she's still kicking butt and taking names in the aftermath of this audio drama. And so, yeah, that issue number 1 that comes out in February. So this probably issue number 2 here that probably comes out in March. We don't have exact dates for that either, but yeah, High Republic Phase 3 going on. I was kind of surprised a little bit this confirmation that she survives this audio drama. I mean, not terribly surprised that she does because she's just hardcore that way, but the fact that they show us she's still standing and literally standing. Don't quite know who that shadowy figure is behind her, but could be her past, could be Markian. He's over there. His mask is over there. Probably not Markian, but she's definitely all about. She's talking about a character who's all about letting the past die, kill if you have to, just shedding her allegiances to the Nile, and even questioning, playing with her allegiance to not to the Jedi, but to Kiev. And that seems to be and what Kiev is getting up to. Not in any sort of deep personal way, but I think she's inspired by the way this is the through line in the ongoing comic, High Republic comic that is finished now. That this will continue. She's inspired by yes, Kiev's ability to do the right thing, make the right choice, to step up and take action. And at this point of her story, in order to do that, to not be bound by customs or rules or traditions necessarily. And so, I mean, lurking, not literally in the shadow here, but lurking here is, of course, how Kiev leaves the order. And I think Lorna has a big deal to do with that. For a master to leave the order as opposed to say, uh, Lula, the Padawan, much bigger deal. And so, yeah, that's, yeah, curious to see again that Lorna, she's still involved. That look, she looks angry. She looks kind of villainous. They're all kneeling against around her, but Um, I think maybe she's almost like leading a crew here. Seems like so. Anyway, I don't know like how much you've kept up with this. First off,
Not
uh,
much.
this one here. I know you told me you're gonna give this one a listen. I think. How does this image strike you, and just the detail of her confronting Markian?
Very spicy.
Yeah.
And Markion looked like a pimp. Uh,
Wow. Yeah.
Doesn't look like a gar. He also looks like a character from He-Man. Weirdly enough. No, I mean, I'll if I've gone, I'll give it a read. I haven't finished the Temptation Force though, so I've just been
Yeah.
lazy. But I like the image. I like the
Mhm.
spiciness. I like the Nile layer. It's a lot more fancy than I thought it would be. You know,
Yeah.
I never knew he lived in this big freaking mansions thing.
It could be
Um,
somewhere on Hetzel. It could be like a building. Probably on Hetzel. Might not
but
be the gaze.
But yeah, very interesting to say
Mhm.
the least. I love the gold, like he's like some big mafia warlord
Yeah.
thing. Very interesting. I have not kept up with the comic at all. I have no idea what's
All
going
right. Fair enough. So yeah, that'll be interesting when this thing comes out to know. Again, that brings up the thing with High Republic. What have you listened to? What have you read? What are you going in with? If because I mean, I do think this is a continuation of the comic book story, and I've said this multiple times. It's why they ended the comic book early. Sorry, the end of the comic book early, because I think they folded some of the story from issues 11 and 12 into this book. So they ended it at issue 10, I believe. And so yeah, this game is coming out just over a month. And so yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm curious to hear your reaction, if you just jump into listening to it versus mine and my reaction, Chris's reaction. Um, yeah, I mean, definitely to add a dimension. Also to say, this is what I said on Wednesday. You know, these audio dramas, they have been pretty pivotal. At least the Battle of Jeddah was. Um,
That was a good
you
one.
know, with Lorna, yeah, I mean, she starts off as a Tempest runner, and then when she kind of leaves and goes off on her own, so it's pivotal in that sense in terms of the overall structure of the Nile and her place in it, and not and gives the backstory of the Nile. Yeah, it'll be and also another curiosity is how pivotal this one is. Is it maybe not so much because it's about one character, not as pivotal to the overall story as say Wreath's ongoing and Wreath going not ongoing comic, but what he's up to. And yeah, I want to say, I mean, Markian is clearly key to the whole darn thing, and so if Lorna is able to get to him somehow, um, I think one of the things that maybe Chris floated or one of us floated is what if Markian doesn't survive this, and there's other like Bulan becomes the main thing as because that seems to be where the gravity of the storytelling is.
I don't
So
know if they do it in an audio drama though. I thought they
that'll
would.
be wild. Yeah, might be a little much, but
That
that's
seems, I kind of got the sense that Markion would be the main bad till Trial of the Jedi, and then that'd be it. Story done.
seems likely, but they might throw us for a loop. Never know. Who knows? Any last thoughts on this Lorna news?
Nope, I like this
All right.
picture. This is a very good one.
All right. Well, I'll put it back up then. There we go. Also, we didn't get talked about this on Wednesday. We did get some cover reveals. First off, Into the Light by Claudia Gray. You see again, my guy Wreath really getting in the thick of it. I'm trying to decide if those are Drengir or not. There's these
Well, one
tentacles.
of them looks like has the mouths. I'm looking at it.
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of name. Although Into the Dark was he reawakens the Nameless or the Drengir, and we know, and this is spoiling a little bit, um, the Drengir have not done well with the Blight, and so are they willing to, have a common cause with the Jedi and the Republic as a common enemy? So that's possible. Again, everything like I said with Wreath, in Tears of the Nameless, he uh, really steps out into his own as one of the key characters, and so yeah, him all by himself on this cover. Excited there. Then we got, let's see if I can find it here. Valiant Vow. So yeah, sorry. Into the Light that comes out April 1st.
Yay.
Um, a few weeks before Celebration. Valiant Vow that comes out
Oh,
May
question.
6th.
Just a
Yes.
quick. So
Go
Trials
ahead.
of the Jedi. I'm sorry. To go back to this and kind of to add some points earlier.
Yeah,
Trials of the Jedi does not have a release date, right?
it does, and I'm gonna get that in a little bit. Keep going.
Okay. Because I was just saying,
Yeah.
this is 2 weeks before Celebration.
Hmm.
When's when Trial of the Jedi coming out? But I guess I'll answer that soon enough.
Yeah. Um. So yeah. So this is April 1st. This is about a month. This is May 6th. This is just after. So they probably have. Come on, give us copies. There. So some of the younglings in the Valiant Vow that we've come across in other young reader books. I'm trying to see what are those just random droids. Hopefully, nothing to do with the uh, the guys in the droid in Dark Droids, but that would be funny if it was. Them and that droid in the back, kind of involved there. So yeah, I believe is no droid gets coming up somewhere else. So yeah, um, nice to see these visuals. And then here's another big one. We got a cover and a title reveal for again trying to find it here. The Acolyte, the Crystal Crown, and you can't see it there. Let me take this away. If you can see there, set in the era of the High Republic. Of course, it's set a good 80 years, probably 90 years after anything else. So that comes out July 29th. So that's later. This is after High Republic is done and dusted as a publishing initiative. But here we have Yord and Jecki in all their glory. Hashtag Yord Horde forever. Um, and how this kind of getting folded into the kind of High Republic again. It goes back to what you say a lot about the era of the High Republic. Um,
Well, I just wanted to
yeah,
bring up that you read that this is coming out after Trial of the Jedi, correct?
yeah.
Well,
So
it's
here's what I wanted to say about that is that there's no cover reveal. We didn't get a cover reveal for Trials of the Jedi. And I'm kind of odd about that, but that comes out June 17th. So that's pretty late. Later than I thought. For some reason I thought it was coming out earlier. Nope, June 17th. That's good, what, a month and a half after
yeah.
Celebration. I'm wondering if that cover is going to be too spoilery. It's going to spoil something that comes out before. So that's why we haven't gotten that. Again, why not just tell us that then? Or whatever. Maybe look too much people look for leaks too much. But anyway, yeah, so this comes out July 29th. So yeah, anyway, keep going with your point.
First off, I mean, hey, that would be that if I were at a publishing panel at Celebration, that would be a cool reveal, especially if it's like I don't know, Ace Elzar and like some freaking armor and Marcion clashing
Yeah.
sabers together.
Yes.
That'd be kind of sweet. That could get
Mhm.
badass. But this is coming out at the Tessa Grattan story is coming out after High Republic
Yeah.
proper, correct?
Yeah,
I
this
think
so
that
July, like over a month after.
watch me connect some dots with
Sure.
the marketing, even though I might be just overthinking it. It's set in the era of the High Republic. You know, I'm just saying. I think we're going to be. I think that we will be seeing. I won't say a lot, but I think we'll be seeing this more often after the Trials of the Jedi is closed and the High Republic storyline
Mhm.
of Jedi versus the Nihil, going all the way back to the path of the open hand, is completed,
Yeah.
and we'll just be starting to see maybe for a while. Maybe not all the time. You know, eventually it's like that moniker is gonna not have as much weight. Maybe a couple decades down the decade or a couple of years down the road. But at
Sure.
least in the interim, the short and mid period, you know,
Yeah.
that set in the era of the High Republic is going to mean something to book and to paper canon fans. And I think we will be seeing a lot more of that little moniker in not every story, obviously, but certain
Yeah.
stories moving forward. And I think
Mhm.
that's just really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, even the Justina Ireland book that I'm going to mention in a little bit. Yeah, that's probably going to have that. There's still some comics that say set 100 years before the Acolyte on their cover.
It's
Still leaning into that, even though it was too soon. Too soon. It's not necessarily too soon anymore, but yeah, no. So yeah, especially that's a great point. Kind of what we were saying about Luke and uh, Luke after Return of the Jedi, all through getting with the sequel content. Well, now that the sequel trilogy is done, we can start to go forward. I guess, I mean, it kind of implied that point, but, or, you mentioned it when it comes to Battle of Jakku. Yeah, that's true. When, uh, when Trial of the Jedi is done, when the High Republic is done as a publishing initiative, right? It won't be a spoiler. It won't be like, oh no, what's going to happen when these characters, like, you better believe these two characters know what happened, right? They've studied, they went through their Jedi Academy history class. So that almost wondering, getting another kind of Dooku Jedi Lost type of thing,
But in
or
reverse.
or like in and around that time period. That, like, maybe say good 30-40 years after this, right? That's still, it won't say set in the era of the High Republic, but definitely be able to mention more in more detail what happened, how Markian and the Nameless and Blight and all that were dealt with.
The long
Yeah,
term effects of the aftermath.
yes, that'd be good. I mean, again, I also want a Kevin Scott Kiev novel, just really dig deep into all that too. So, that, speaking, yeah, I mean, that's another thing. Just going back to a point we were making before, Kevin Scott audio dramas have been really, really important. Have been really weighty. Not necessarily so much great influence on the wider story all the time, but the three we've gotten already, the two we've gotten so far, in phase one and phase, wait, why is my brain? Yeah, we've gotten
Yeah, Jeddah.
Dooku. Well, that was George Mann, who's there in cahoots. Dooku Jedi Lost and Tempest Runner. Yeah, so they've been really pivotal, and they've been weighty. They've been had gravitas, I should say, in terms of how we think about Jedi and think about the Order. So, Tempest Breaker might still do that too. Yeah, and so yeah, Crystal Crown, Tessa Gratton, part of Team Luminous. She wrote fantastic phase 2. She wrote Path of Deceit, I believe, with Justina, and so yeah, definitely looking forward to this one. And yeah, cool reveal. Crystal Crown, Kyber crystals, maybe, I don't know. Also, one last little bit of image here. You mentioned this. There's Avar Chris in armor. And Daniel Jose Older tweeted, yeah, they're gonna need it. They're gonna need it. Speculation, this is probably an ore that is resistant to the blight, and possibly also the Nameless. But the Temple Guard mask and everything. So yeah, they're that we have that.
And not the first time we've seen this armor.
Nope. Have at it. Tell us where we've seen it.
We saw it first in the Rise of Kylo Ren comic, where Avar Chris herself is wearing
it. Like a holocron that Luke has, right? And Luke opens the holocron. That's our first view of Avar Chris. And she's wearing this armor. Like, she doesn't have the mask, but definitely the shoulder. So that Charles Soule, again, planning things through. Any last thoughts on these little bits here?
No, I'm probably looking forward to the Jackie Yord one. I mean, I think the Destiny one as well is probably my favorite. Ooh, I really like the background they're in. Like, I see like some symbols in the back, like a stadium here. They're like in an arena.
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Or like, some sort of like fortress wall or something.
Could be.
Who knows?
It's cool looking. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think it'd be nice as well. The armor's cool. It's interesting. Armor again, right? Like, the Jedi won't be wearing that until the Clone Wars came back. So it's like, what does that mean? What does the fact they're gonna wear armor mean again? It's like, have they done it before? What's going on here before they go back to regular robes and stuff? That'd be cool.
Sure. And it's interesting, in this era they can't help but make it still look elegant. Like, very, very knightly, very courtly. Like, even the shins and the knee piece there, and even that kind of shield on the side there, or whatever that is.
Well, they always did say Arthurian knights in Camelot, so let's just go all out. I mean,
There
I
it
mean, look
is.
at
There
look
it
at her
is.
sword. It's like it's got like some
Or-
spikes, and it looks like a sword.
Well, yeah. Well, High Republic lightsabers do have the cross guards and things like that too. So yeah, there we go. They also had Avar, and they have Aslan. Oh, they have Avar, that Burry and Aslan Rel, um, in that armor too. So he's gonna be involved. All right. Moving along, we got a bit more to talk about here. Actually, good chunk of talk about with High Republic Adventures, and kind of maybe focus on the big picture. Is that all roads lead to Ariadu? And this was interesting that that especially with High Republic Adventures, but not just with that. With Alyssa Wong's one shot, Lydia Kang's insider short stories, all of that culminating in this big border battle right on the storm wall. And so we have the brilliant Harvey told about connecting covers, which are my weakness. Connecting covers between issues 14 to 17 is the Battle of Ariadu, and number 14 comes at January 15th, Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. Yeah, so this is exciting, and looks like it's gonna bring in. Looks there's Markian right there, a bunch of Jedi right there. It looks like it's gonna bring in some bigger guns than this Adventures comic has seen so far. So there's that. There's gonna be a High Republic Adventures annual with Zoraida Cordova and Charles and Rosemary Soul, the father-daughter team up. The Soul story will feature characters from their children's book, picture book, Jedi Brave in Every Way. Joel, you listened to the did you listen to read the young reader run? I think it was Escape from Val. No, the one that came after that. Churro the Hut. Have you heard of Churro the Hut?
I have heard of Churro the
Yes.
Hut, but unfortunately,
Yeah.
I did not was able to read, because I'll go into a rant. I'll go into.
Oh yeah, the release. Yeah,
because I forgot they don't release the audiobooks on the day of the novel. I actually don't know if the audiobook has been released. I mean, it
I
might
think
have.
it has now.
I never checked. I just forgot. I got into some other stuff at the time. It's like, come on. Some of us like to read audiobooks because we don't want to get the book, and we already got, we're already kind of lazy with reading. It's like, what's up with that? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was dumb. Anyway, so it builds on Zoraida's story in the High Republic Adventures annual builds on her Jedi not Jedi Brave, Fear the Nameless, the young reader story, but Churro's story specifically. That'll be interesting. Here's a curious one. Justina Ireland is going back to before phase 1. I think this is a one shot comic, possibly, or maybe it's, I don't quite know, remember. But anyway, going back to before phase 1 with a story featuring Padawan Vernestra Rowe, where she learns a valuable lesson from Master Stellan Geo. So I'm going to look this up. What kind of medium? I forget what medium this is. This could be in Dispatches from the Occlusion Zone. This could be a one shot. I don't quite remember. If anyone in the comics wants to enlighten me what this is, trying to pull up the actual page here. Reveals from New York Comic Con. Because I think they may have announced this in the panel, but trying to see. Okay. Yeah, I don't. Okay, I can't quite find it, but yeah, this is a curious one. We're going back to before phase 1 for just Justina Ireland is. I'm wondering, where does this connect to? What does that one connect to? Does that connect to phase 3, what she's up to in phase 3? Does it connect to the Acolyte novel that you mentioned? A Way Seeker. Maybe. I mean, does it connect to what she's been doing? That's the thing with the Acolyte having come out. Everything we read of Vernestra now, including in Tears of the Nameless, for example, I'm thinking of where does she end up in that show, and how does she end up to be so political and so fixated on public perception and protecting the order and the reputation of the order and all that. So, so that I don't know what you think of all that, but yeah. So that's that. A bit more news. Dispatches from the Inclusion Zone. This is going to be able to tie in a bunch of things. Tie in a bunch of loose threads, I think. So Kevin Scott's continuing Ty York's story where we left off from Saber for Hire, which just finished. Daniel Jose Older has Jedi Detective. Here's another wild one. Jedi Detective Emmerich Kaftor, of course, from that short run he wrote for Marvel, teaming up with Nihil scientist Niv Drendow. There you go. And then Alyssa Wong. This is also from Dispatches. These are one shots, different one shots. Cat and mouse story between Drigget and Rue. Rue, of course, part of the Corellia crew. So, a whole bunch of little things that they told us about at the con. Just again, a lot of High Republic adventures, and they're going to use High Republic adventures, I think, to fill in all these pieces. While then it seems like the novels and Calvin Scott's comic is going to tell just maybe the bulk of the story, the audio play and the comic. Yeah, but then letting High Republic adventures again, really, especially the Battle of Ariadu. I'm saying it's so pivotal. I'm calling it Jakku, but no, it's Ariadu. I don't know what you think of all this. The way they're using High Republic adventures, and what you think, especially of coming to the Battle of Ariadu. Are you gonna try and catch up with that? And do what you can.
I mean, it's hard for that stuff, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be curious if Tarkin family show up in Ariadu.
Oh, it shows up. They show up. They show up from the get-go.
Oh, nice. What are they doing?
They're running the planet.
Of course they are.
And they're dueling each other, and not dueling, but getting into each other's business.
That's not about that. Like, is there a Nihil faction and a public faction?
Interesting, kind of like their allegiances are questioned. Are they going to support the Jedi? There's one Tarkin contact they have, and is she supporting the Jedi? Was she just using the Jedi to get back into the top seat, into the good graces of kind of that Ariadu Council?
That sounds like the
are they just gonna basically, is she gonna just go with the highest bidder, and are they gonna go with the fastest horse, and so maybe side more with the Nihil? That's a good question. We don't know ultimately.
It'll be interesting because at the end of the day, Philip Tarkin gets pretty good with the Republic, and then the Chancellor, they run in the Empire. Yeah, that's something for sure. But what am I trying to say? I mean, no, that's interesting. I'll be, one thing I'm curious about is even after the initiative, do they go back to this particular time period of High Republic to tell just kind of like single stories of like, oh yeah, this was going on in that planet, and this was going on over here. Oh yeah, that happened over there when Marcion Rowe was doing all this stuff.
Yeah,
like kind of like one and done sort of thing.
I mean, probably a little bit. I think I can see it more likely that they'll still want to tell saga era stories, and so using things from the High Republic. I mean, the Living Force is the perfect example of what I'm about to get at here, is using things from the High Republic as an important backstory. But you can say, oh yeah, Quen as one of the great works. Well, we know what the great works are if you know about the High Republic, and so there's Jedi characters, so that kind of thing. Again, that's what I want. Another a Calvin Scott novel to do something in there. Maybe another audio play.
I did bring it up, but I was like, I forgot to mention it. It's like, I bet you we get some cool High Republic stuff in the Charles Soule Kylo Ren run.
Cool. I can count on it.
That'll be awesome to kind of see that High Republic stuff kind of go all the way forward to the sequel era.
True. I mean, he's a student of history.
Yeah, it's true. I forget that.
Of he's a student of the fall of the Jedi, and he cared a lot about the fall of the Jedi, and
Oh, that'd be cool.
and how maybe that's where one of the places where Charles puts in a bit of a thesis statement, kind of spells it out for us. Not that Charles ever likes to spell things out for us, but um, at least puts in Kylo's interpretation of it. Kind of maybe, I mean, or well, I'll get to that thought in a second. But yeah, puts his interpretation of it, of what happened with what happened with the Jedi and the Nihil. I mean, that'll be also full circle because, again, like you just said, the first appearance of Avar Kriss is in the Charles Soule Rise of Kylo Ren comic. So
That's true. That's true. That did happen.
yeah,
Kylo Ren has visions of Aslan and Momin in the story.
yeah,
Something like that. It's a bit of a prediction. Not a prediction, more of a want.
yeah.
For kind of the future
Mhm.
of High Republic. I don't want to do the what's after High Republic.
We got time. We got time.
But
Yeah.
if we ever do stories that kind of go back and like kind of like
Mhm.
add stuff to this kind of this saga of this High Republic saga, as I like to call it,
Mhm.
I would like kind of maybe if not a trilogy, maybe like a big book that just covers a big chunk of history,
Yeah.
like a year's worth of history
Mhm.
of who the heck were the Sith at the time, and just kind of
Yeah.
what were they doing? Like, right? Like, I don't need to be part of the actual publishing initiative
Sure.
proper. I think that's not that. This is a Jedi focused thing. This should be
Mhm.
focused on the Jedi. This is their story. But once it's all done, and once you can kind of see the full picture, you know, I
Mhm.
don't know, Charles Soule, somebody, Kevin Scott, whoever, somebody new can kind of
George Man.
George Mann, yeah,
Mhm.
whoever. I don't have a preference, kind of. Go
Yeah.
back, look at it all. It's like, and then say, okay, well, all of this was going on. This is what just two Sith Lords were up to the whole time that they were watching all this unfold. And maybe they like pinned the needles, but it's like they had to react to these weird things.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe a little things, yeah. I can see that. I mean, I'd almost prefer a bit more of a focused story. Yeah, but of those two Sith Lords, what they're doing. I mean, here's the thing. If there's anything we want from the Acolyte is what is Plagueis doing, you know.
It
And
plays around during this time.
that's
That'd be
on
nice.
no, I mean that's 100 years later, so there's that. But yeah, I mean this is again a bigger question that we keep thinking about. You keep bringing up rightly. It's an important question. What now that this period, especially this year, 2 years,
This
uh,
saga.
and this and then the 150 years before it are so well built out, and just and not just the actual events, but also how the Jedi are and how the galaxy is. Going back 350 years, going back 150 years to the way seekers and the weaker communications and um the expansion, Lina So's expansion. Sorry. All this world building has been done that has served these characters and served the story so well. But it's there. You got to believe there are authors who want to pitch some stories. I don't know if they'll do it immediately. I think you're right. It'll probably, if anything,
Give
what
it a
we get
rest.
will be later stories.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, we know that's how Story Group operates. Is if you have an idea, and you're an established writer already, to go for it. To at least give them a pitch. Yeah, again, depends on the timing there too. I
Right.
mean, I mean, again, that's another thing of the upshot of all these little pieces in High Republic Adventures
Mhm.
is some of these don't really contribute to the overall story all that much.
Mhm.
Maybe they do in their little ways, little corners, but they're picking up these threads that were laid down in bigger books, bigger stories.
Right.
Um, Again, the Battle of Ariadu, that is going to be a bigger piece. But Churro, he's just this one character that's kind of like that already, right? He's not. I mean, the one consequential thing I won't spoil. He does in Fear the Nameless. He does do something that's kind of consequential, but afterwards, he's just trying to be a Hutt who likes uh like insects and like science. What do you do there? Um, and so yeah, it's already, my point being they're kind of already doing that a little bit based on these characters that are already established. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm just again like once it's done, there's a lot that's been developed, but it's sort of like, well, what do we
yeah,
do with all this real estate now?
yeah. I mean, I will say, um, Ty Yorick and Emmerich Kaftor, Niv Drendow, they're all. I mean, Emmerich Kaftor and Niv Drendow are involved with the Nameless, and so if you're involved with the Nameless, then you're more important already. Um, Vernestra by herself is already a more important character. So some of these aren't necessarily little pieces. I mean, Vernestra is buddies with Wreath, so that, but she has a part to play in the end too. That's very clear. She's been one of the main characters of this whole thing. So not everything is a little side piece here, but a good chunk, a good bit of these are. So, um, yeah, all that to say, yeah, it's happening. I mean, we're getting Lula and Z. We're getting their wedding, which is gonna be fun. Um, we never. When was the last time we've had a wedding in Star Wars? Well, I guess we had uh, Han and Leia. Well, that's definitely gonna be the first same-sex wedding in Star Wars, so that'll be fun. Um,
Yay!
yeah. So yeah, I think we got some internal art for that. So again, that's just another little piece that is moving the big story, the Battle of Ariadu story forward. So and the characters involved in there. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. There were I'm trying to think. There was the Dark Horse hyperspace stories thing. We didn't really get into that, but Chris and I got into that on Wednesday. But I don't know if there's any. Is there anything else? Anything I missed? Anything?
Cat
There we go. The cat has finally made an appearance. It being
Aw.
almost 3 years, and the cat never shows up. There we
Yeah,
go.
they really want to be on my lap right now.
There we go.
Oh, okay.
Finally, it's about
Yeah.
time. It's about time. Um, anything else? Anything I missed? You want to highlight? Anything else? Any thoughts?
No, I mean, it's High Republic's coming to an end, man. It's
Yeah.
almost here. Kind of,
Mhm.
kind of freaky. Kind of freaky.
Mhm.
We're not in like it's in like we've had it for so long. It's like,
Mhm.
I guess we could talk about one more thing. Kind of, I'm thinking about just the kind of the
Mhm.
overall lack of announcements.
Yeah.
I do wonder just overall, it's like, are we going to be entering just a gradual wind down period for Star Wars in general,
Mm.
right? Like, we're already winding down our screen stuff to a movie and a TV show,
Yeah.
more or less. Let's see how 2026 works out. I know at least we'll get one because
Mhm.
Mando's done filming. Um, and Ahsoka, probably going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, are they cutting down on comics and books as well? Like,
Mm.
are we not gonna get like four different ongoings and they're all gonna cross over? Although this is
Right.
Marvel and Marvel likes its events.
Yeah.
But like, are we gonna get something a little more manageable in Star Wars land where it's like, I don't know, Kylo Ren comic and then sequel era mainline Star Wars or
Mhm.
whatever, right? Like, is it gonna be just kind of back to basics? Although no, I can't see them not doing Afra, but maybe I don't know.
She's still going. She's still kicking.
She's still cooking, and so yeah, I think they
She's
won't give
showing
up.
up in Battle of Jakku.
Is
She's
that
on the
confirmed?
cover. So
Oh, okay. I
yeah.
see. I knew it. I knew she would. I knew it. Called it.
Yeah.
She would. So it's like I do wonder if, like,
Mhm.
I've said before, 2025 going to be might be a quiet year. I do wonder if that's going to be in terms of books and
Mm.
comics as well, and 2026 too. It's like, just like, hey, if you want to buy Star Wars, you got to miss it a little bit.
That's it. I mean, so
That's it. We work for Marvel. People, there's only been one Marvel film, and it's good.
they, yeah, and there's a Marvel show going on. It's almost over. Um, yeah. Well, there's gonna be more Marvel films next year,
True.
but
But they took that Marvel film break for a reason.
yeah, they take a break. I mean that's interesting. I think there will always be. I think there. I mean there will be a major ongoing. You're right. We kind of have this Vader story. even though it's set long after he's dead. That's an ongoing, so that's good. Yeah, I mean, this large concerted effort that they've had in comics, especially since 2015, that they've had in this publishing initiative since 2021. Yeah, I can see them taking a bit of a break from that, at least for the first half. And that's another thing, not announcing anything in New York, not announcing the big thing in New York suggests, with the timing, do they announce something at Celebration that doesn't come out until June, July, August,
December.
December.
Closer to 2026.
Maybe. I mean, that's a possibility. The fact of not having much in terms of any TV shows, that does drastically
We'll have
bring
Andor
down.
next year.
We'll have Andor, and then we'll have Ahsoka. But it definitely, the move back to screen, it definitely will draw down the amount of screen content if it's just a 2-hour film. If the only thing we get is, I mean, we won't just get that, but we'll have the one animated, one live action, one film. That's a lot less than the 2 live actions and whatever.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah, maybe I can see again for 2025. I mean, we're getting a bunch of High Republic in 2025.
We are wrapping up here.
It's wrapping up, but it is. I mean, there's gonna be one getting to the light in April, Valiant Vow in May, and then Trials of the Jedi in June. So there are things coming out. The Mace Windu novel just came out. I bought that. I got an ARC. This is a big deal. I got an ARC advanced review copy of the Mon Mothma books, and those of the first Mon Mothma books, those are coming out too. So there are things coming out. Yeah, there are things coming out. It's just, yeah. I mean, the big, that's the thing. High Republic had such a volume of volumes that, yeah, I think it's kind of slowing down a little bit. I won't say as much as maybe you're getting at, but maybe what's kind of implied, and it was implied in the point with we don't have to have all this content, is what are our expectations? What does it mean to be a relevant, prominent franchise? Does it have to be pumping out everything all the time? And does that, is it going to compete? Is it going to be as relevant and prominent as Marvel or Star Trek? So you're right, Star Trek might be dwindling down, is uncertain in the future there.
I'm more worried about Paramount than Star Trek. I think Star Trek is
sure. But and the fact, I mean, you think about it, like, what, I mean, that's the thing, to say, it doesn't have to have all of these things happening at once. I mean, here's the interesting thing, if a show is just that good, it feels like it takes up more of the space, right? House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones universe, they only got one thing going on right now, and it's just that good that it's taking up the space. The Lord of the Rings, the different licenses and properties currently have one thing going on right now. There's going to be
one thing after years of not having.
For years of nada, and now they're also going back. I was at the War of the Rohirrim panel. That was great too.
Ooh, got
something. But it's an animated film. But Rings of Power season 2, it's just this one thing. It was just that good that it takes up a lot of attention and space in a good way. It earns that gravity by being that good and that consistently perfect, I would say. And so, yeah, I mean, that is also the lesson for the Acolyte, is that Lucasfilm needs to really focus in on being consistently good on screen. I would say High Republic, I would say paper is always, for some reason, often is a lot more consistently good, especially novels. Maybe there's more accountability, more editing processes. I don't know. Less money, so there's less at stake, so you can fix things.
I mean, I know people probably wouldn't agree with that, but
Uh,
I mean, being consistently good, I think, is a bit of the subjective, to be quite honest.
yeah,
It's,
sure, but I don't know. I mean, if you pit, say, High Republic versus the Acolyte in terms of consistency, you
well,
know,
a season of TV out of 20 books by 20 different authors. That's a
yeah,
little
yeah, but which was more consistently higher quality.
acolyte.
It no, I disagree. The if you read all the books, if you read all the books and comics, they're all, especially the books, they're all firing all cylinders, and so that, I mean,
I mean, but
it's
that's
kind
just
of a miraculous thing, but
that's just I don't know.
um, again, read all the books and comics and come back to me. But it seems, again, it seems kind of this miraculous thing that's just all. That's the thing with the Acolyte, that was made in committee too, and so yeah,
I
and
disagree with that because I mean I've read the books and I'm going to be honest, I like the acolyte better than the books.
okay, I mean, okay, fair, but um, you know, yeah, Tears of the Nameless and everything, maybe even everything George Mann has done, for example. That's,
I don't know. I think that's being a little biased. Quite. I don't think I could
okay,
agree with that.
fair, but um, anyway, all that to say, to bring back to your main point that we are agreeing on, in that, yeah, yeah, hunker down, be focused on being consistently good. So a great movie, a great film can take over the zeitgeist. That's the thing, right? Heir to the Empire, Mando and Grogu could
That did.
take over. Yeah, take over the zeitgeist again. And it's just what, a 2-hour film. Uh,
True, true.
and by that I mean not just a 2-hour film, but so I guess it's not the size that counts. It's how you use it. I would
That's
think.
true. That's true.
Uh,
That is true.
it's not the length that counts. It's, yeah. Anyway, I'll stop there. But yeah, that's a good point. Again, are we going to slow down? I think a little bit, just because High Republic is ending. I think everything else, uh, we're getting a Mon Mothma, Saw Gerrera trilogy,
With
uh,
Bale, finally
with
some Bale.
Bale. Mon Mothma Saw Bale trilogy here. Um, we're getting Battle of Jakku. That's going to only take us for a few months, but um, yeah. So again, slowing down, but not. It's still going to feel like there's plenty, I think.
Oh, I mean, I doubt we're gonna get like one book a year, right?
Oh, I know.
But I do wonder if like, I mean, it's honestly, I would love to go back and kind of just look at the amount of comics and books released every year and see if like,
Mm-hmm.
do they pump out the same amount every year, or have we really
They
gotten
can't.
more?
No.
No,
Yeah.
I doubt they do. So, but
And again, sorry, go ahead.
oh no, and I'm like, well, if I had to compare 2024, 2025 next year, it's like, am I going to see
Mhm.
more or less?
Yeah. I mean, well, again, also to your point, again, repeating this, we are coming to the end of these two major things in publishing, right? We came to the end of the original trilogy comics thing.
Right.
Um, I mean, this also say what, 6-7 years ago, we came to the end of that first chunk of Endor to Jakku stories, and then maybe things felt a little lighter because there were all the focus was on the films and on, yes, tie-ins or no tie-ins to films or whatever. Um, now again, we're coming to the end of that New Hope to Return of the Jedi in comics. That was loads. That's what, got to be over what, 200, 300 comic books. Um, right there. I mean, I'm looking at I have like three long boxes of just that. Um, again, we're coming to the end of High Republic, and so those two things were just such a machine, such a factory of volume,
Too much
that
sometimes. Some you know.
some people would say too much. Yeah, too much to keep up with, right? Um, that yeah, the fact. I mean, that's the thing. Having this organizing principle, these organizing principles are a good way of having content that you can bring together, and a good way of iterating and creating, because you have a point of reference to write towards. And now we're not going to necessarily have that for the time being. I do think we're going to come back to that, not just because it's what Marvel does, uh, but also because for the most part, the New Hope to Return of the Jedi comics worked really well, because the High Republic worked so darn well. We had our last episode that we just did a few weeks ago was what the next publishing initiative is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be another publishing initiative, and it's probably it might not have the same churning out uptick of books, but it's going to feel it's going to feel like it has that volume. But yeah, I agree. Taking a break from some things, sure.
Oh yeah. Although now it just makes me wonder if, I wonder if they'll ever go back to the in between New Hope and Return of the Jedi for the comics. Like what would they fill in? They filled in quite a bit.
What Palpatine was up to, I don't know.
I would read that. You know I would. But no, yeah, with the ending of these things, it's sort of like, maybe 2020. I'm not saying 2025 is going to be just nothing.
Yeah.
It possibly can't be. I mean, if you're not reading Star Wars books and comics, it feels that way. And let's face it, I do think for the majority of people in the world that is very much the case. Yeah. In fact, I remember Dan Star Wars Centralized bringing up the fact that, if you do read Star Wars books and comics, Star Wars doesn't actually feel as empty as if you're only watching the films and TV shows where it's like you only get one a year.
Yeah. Like we're just getting Andor, right? Or is there Ahsoka?
No, Ahsoka is filming next year. Yeah. We're just getting Andor, and maybe if they announce an animated show, possibly. So at least there'll be one animated thing in Andor. Oh, go ahead.
Compared to what we've had since 2019, that's a significant drawdown. Again, to the point we've been repeating, that's not a bad thing. It's notable.
I mean, this year was a drawdown too. Remember, we just had Acolyte, and we're going to have Skeleton Crew in December.
True.
I think 20. No, because the strike made it to a year in 2023. True. So 2022 was the only year of 3. Boba, Kenobi, and Andor.
Yeah.
Which we enjoyed. I don't know about everybody else, but but yeah, kind of. I mean, yeah, it's drawing down. And I think Star Wars might be just a franchise that kind of only works with like one big, maybe 2 live action things, and it's okay if one's a show because of the weird how people feel about streaming versus film thing, which is weird and psychological. I don't understand it. And then the books and comics, well, let's face it, those are just for people who are already in the know, more or less.
Sure.
If you're like us, you're reading those. So,
but I mean, this raises the question though: does the lack of less on screen things, does that create more of an creates more room, more time? Does it create more of an appetite for paper stories? That's I got my first edition Heir of the Jedi signed by Tim Zahn.
Heir of the Empire, you mean?
Heir of the Empire, sorry. Heir of the Jedi. Heir of the Empire. Signed by Tim Zahn. The Heir of the Empire thing, I mean, he kind of created that appetite. But
it can. I feel like this would take a whole podcast, so I'm going to give my quick thoughts. I think it can, but I also think the reverse is true, and I think because ultimately, I'm not going to say new people can't come in through the books. I'm sure there are plenty who have.
Yeah.
But the majority of new people to Star Wars come in through the films, and then we filter down. So it's kind of a 2-in-1, half dozen of the other kind of situation. I would say it can, but I also think the film probably helped more than they hurt. So
true. Yeah, I mean, I can see folks who are like, "Oh, I really want to. I really love Mandalorian. I really love the Acolyte or whatever, or Andor. I want to read more I want to get more Star Wars stories. Or I'm going to go pick up this book. We have podcasts like ours or whoever to help introduce, or folks. If you're looking for a good Star Wars, DM us. comment on us. All that. Feel free to ask. Then there's also folks who are, because that's the thing. These films and shows, they create the buzz for everything else.
Like the prequels did in the
Yeah. But even the sequel era, right?
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean, that's the
definitely.
thing. I mean, the whole thing of, in the Disney canon,
Mhm.
it was the novels and comics were firing on all cylinders, or in and around the films. They weren't necessarily connected to the films as much, but you had the Andor to Jakku thing. You had some of the best novels, Star Wars novels of all time, written in that period, come out in that period. So yeah, creating the buzz. So it can go back. I guess to answer my own question, yeah, and to agree with you, it can go back and forth. Maybe different folks for different folks.
Oh,
Different
definitely.
things. Yeah.
I would argue. I would. One more question, then we could probably wrap.
Yeah.
We should probably wrap
Yeah.
up. On like with apparently, I guess, screen content,
Yeah.
with streaming and film. I do wonder, if that can be oversaturated. I think
Yeah.
clearly what happened with Marvel as well. This is
Yeah.
not just a Star Wars problem. This is a Marvel problem. Um, I do wonder if books and comics, because of their limited kind of market,
Yeah.
if either we as fans are just like, yeah, give us more, that's just what we are,
Yeah.
or even if the books and comics have their limit of like, this is too much, draw back, I can't do, like, if like a book a month every month came out, would we be tired?
High Republic it was, right?
It almost felt that way sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it ever truly was, but it did feel that way. Like
High Republic was, at some points, it was like phase 1. It was like a book every 2 weeks or something. Almost. It
it's
was
like,
ridiculous.
is that too much? I mean,
Yeah.
especially with books and comics, right? Like, even I felt
Yeah.
that way, and it's like, that's another reason to draw back. Is like, you don't want to oversaturate your market, and people are like,
Yeah.
you make it go away.
So maybe this might be part of an intentional strategy then, to desaturate a little bit.
They just
Let the field lie fallow a little bit. There's good agriculture. I know nothing about agriculture, but I know you got to let a field lie fallow, and not that it's lying completely fallow. Right? Again,
right.
there's going to be, like we're saying this again. There's going to be tons to read, and
Oh yeah.
nothing new to watch necessarily. Not much new to watch, but Disney
It won't
Plus
be
is
as bad
there.
as ever. It won't be ever as bad as like the 90s or the pre-late
No.
or late 80s, right? Like,
No. So, although
but
even
yeah,
then, you had Tales of the Jedi. You had
that's
all
true.
these different
Yeah,
comics coming up. Shadows of the Empire.
that's
So,
true. Yeah.
yeah. So, anyways, great conversation. We had time for the tangent, so why not? I mean, we're talking about reveals in cons and also New York Comic Con, but please do, yeah, good way to wrap it up. Always, good to be back in the saddle for the On Canon podcast. So, yes, please do let us know. Thanks everyone for watching, whether now or after the fact. Let us know what you thought of our conversation tonight. If you're reading Battle of Jakku, let us know. If you read Tears of the Nameless, let us know. Comment below in those boxes. If you're at New York Comic Con or you're tracking the reveals, let us know what you thought. We thought of our rants about non-reveals and things like that. Check out the first part of that rant, standing right in front of the Javits Center on the Sunday, over on Star Raptors, youtube.com/StarRaptor. Have our overall con recap there, and also on Track Room this past Wednesday. But also, yes, please do comment below. Oh, I forgot to mention cosplay and merch photos, and my live photos of the publishing panel. Of the publishing panel are over on at the SWU Instagram and Twitter. So please do check that out. But yes, also comment below. Do give this video a like and a share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Joel, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter on JID2021. Again, JID2021 on Twitter. Also, check us out at the Ion Can Pod, EYEONCANPOD. Make sure you check out last week's episode where we did the final Tales of the Jedi comic, The Sith War.
Speaking of Tales of the Jedi.
Oh yeah, speaking of which, the Sith War, and of course the week before that, where Dan Star Wars Centralized came over to talk about Dark Empire with me. And of course, follow us on Star Wars Underworld Discord. We have game nights, movie nights, all sorts of fun stuff, and you can talk to us and ask questions. Like, what Star Wars book should you start with?
Great question. Joel, what Star Wars book should I start with?
I don't know. What do you like about Star Wars?
I like space wizards.
I guess you might like the Light of the Jedi book. It's all
Oh
about
yeah,
the
that was
space
pretty good.
wizards.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. There you go. Wait again, Michelle Russell. Anyways, yes. So also first off to say thanks for holding down the fort, bringing in all the guests, talking legends. Hey, why not here on Iron Canon? Talk about legends. Legends look back. It's a Star Wars stories worth talking about. Why not?
Mhm.
There we go. So yeah, Iron Canon podcast. Please do, follow me. You can follow my personal Instagram, MNEG1138, also on Threads. A lot of my Instagram goes to Threads. Also at beaches.foodie, FOODIE, and a bunch of New York food things go up there, including Comic Con. The Javits Center food options. Gotta say, you don't have to leave the con. There's an area you can go outside, get some fresh air without having to leave the con area. Excellent food options. Got to shout them out there too. So you can also follow me my personal Twitter, NUG485, of course at Canon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD. Again, Tractor Beam this coming Wednesday. Not really talking about news. Talking about Battle of Jakku, Insurgency Rising number 3, moving right along. High Republic Adventures number 11, and getting back to Echoes of Fear number 2. Now that I've done Tears of the Nameless, so please do check that out. That's 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Underworld YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitch, and Iron Canon Twitch. Also, check the flagship at 9 p.m. Thursday and around the network. Everything everyone is up to, all these wonderful things that folks are up to. Again, Iron Canon Pod. Please do give us a like and a follow there. Next week, here there's something weird happened in your country the day after that. So we're going to talk about what Star Wars tells us about what democracy needs to survive. It's kind of getting tense hour. Please do vote. Please vote. I can't vote.
You
in your
can vote
election.
now. Is there? I did.
Yes, you can vote. I can't vote in your election. Please go vote now. Don't vote often because that's illegal. But do go
vote
vote.
often when there's the day to vote.
Yeah, vote often in different ways. Express your voice. Go campaign. Encourage people to go out and vote. Joel, thank you for voting, and thank you for participating in American democracy and saving it from itself. What George Lucas was saying, what Star Wars is saying about what democracy needs to survive, and that'll be 24 hours before one of the most important presidential elections probably in our lifetimes. Not exaggerating. Fun times. I'm happy to be Canadian a little bit, but also
you say that now until
I say that
your
now.
election.
Yeah, until our election. That's true. But anyways, until then, we got a week to breathe. There we go. Until then, Joel, let's blow this thing and head home.